In the courtroom. The murmurs echoed through the courtroom, faint and indecipherable, just before the torture that awaited Mayor Black. He sat in his wheelchair, his face set in a quiet, determined expression. In his left hand, he gripped the chain that held his loyal Belgian Malinois, Rex. Rex was no mere military dog. He was salvation, a brother in arms with whom Black had shared the darkest moments of war. Even at home, broken, Rex was the only thing that gave meaning to his life. The judge's voice sliced through the silence like a sharp blade. Mayor Black, this is your final opportunity to speak before we make our decision. Black inhaled deeply, his chest rising and falling as his mind focused on the words he needed to say. He glanced at Rex, the trust between them unwavering. Rex is not just a tool or equipment. He saved my life more times than I can count, on the battlefield, and after when he came home broken. He's the only one who's reminded me what it means to live. The looks around him were a mix of sympathy, doubt, and indifference, but he didn't care. Rex was there, by his side, alert and focused. His amber eyes locked onto the man in front of him, understanding every word, every movement. The judge leaned forward, his piercing gaze fixed on Black. But before he could speak, Rex suddenly stood up, his posture rigid, muscles tense. The low growl of the dog resonated through the room. The sound froze everyone, causing the murmurs to stop instantly, replaced by an ominous tension in the air. "What is it, Rex?" Black whispered, tightening his grip on the dog's chain. But Rex didn't move. His growl deepened, more menacing, more threatening. The silence turned into a collective sense of unease, the room's atmosphere thick with fear. Black's heart raced. He tightened his grip on the chain, anxiety creeping into his voice. "Rex, what's going on?" he murmured, almost in a breathless whisper. But Rex remained silent, his eyes fixed on the door, the fur on his neck bristling. The tension was palpable. Then, the door swung open with a loud crash, and 3 hooded figures emerged. The courtroom instantly transformed into a battlefield. Chaos erupted like an unstoppable volcano, screams, chairs overturning, the sound of the judge's gavel banging furiously for order. But order was lost. Rex surged forward with unmatched speed, attacking the first intruder with a ferocity only a war dog could possess. The man screamed as Rex sank his jaws into his arm, forcing him to drop the weapon he was holding. Black reacted instantly, pulling the gun from his waistband and firing at the second attacker. The bullet hit its mark with precision, and the man fell, incapacitated. But the remaining 2 didn't hesitate. They pressed forward with unyielding determination. Black felt the weight of the fight, but there was no room for hesitation. Rex was already fighting beside him, always one step ahead, a loyal guardian. The wail of sirens and flashing red lights filled the room, but Black didn't care about that now. He knew there was something bigger at stake. And Rex, his friend, his savior, was by his side, as always. "Let's go, Rex!" Black shouted, his heart pounding as he prepared for the next move. They couldn't lose. Not now. The battle raged on. The silence in the courtroom was shattered by Rex's deep growl, which grew more menacing, as if the very air was about to collapse under the pressure. The sound reverberated through the walls, echoing in the minds of everyone present. Fear spread quickly, palpable, like a subtle poison coursing through the veins of the onlookers. Every gaze, now fixed on the doors, reflected a mix of uncertainty and terror. The tension felt like a thread about to snap at any moment. The judge, frozen in place, could only murmur, unsure if he believed what he was seeing. The pressure built as Rex, with his fierce and focused eyes, didn't budge an inch, as if he knew something no one else could understand. The dog's growl intensified, as if challenging the imminent danger hanging in the room. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor outside the courtroom. The door slammed open, and 2 figures emerged from the darkness. Their presence was immediate and overwhelming. Faces hidden under hoods, their imposing forms made it clear they were no ordinary intruders. They were hunters, and Rex knew it. "Calm down, Mayor," said a smooth voice, laced with malice, coming from the figure in front. "We don't want anyone to get hurt. Not more than necessary." The voice was cold, relentless. It felt calculated, as if every word, every movement had been planned in advance. And before anyone could react, the second man advanced toward Rex, who immediately stood tall, muscles tense, ready to strike at any moment. "Stay away from him," the mayor shouted, his voice trembling but with a silent fury emanating from every inch of his being. "You're not taking Rex. Not while I'm alive." The hooded man grinned, a cruel, dismissive smile, as if he already knew what would happen next. "You have no choice. Rex is ours now. He no longer belongs to you." Rex's eyes gleamed with an almost supernatural intensity. He didn't retreat, didn't hesitate. What was about to happen was inevitable, and no one there could escape the ferocity of the moment. Then, without warning, everything exploded. Rex surged forward like a beast, his teeth flashing as he launched himself with lightning speed, sinking into the arm of the man in front of him. The sound of the impact was deafening. The man screamed, but his attempt to fight back was futile. Rex's power was uncontrollable, and his strikes, visceral and relentless, left no room for negotiation. The courtroom was consumed by chaos, the dog's roar blending with the panicked screams of the spectators. The judge tried to maintain order, banging his gavel repeatedly, but his voice was lost in the confusion. No one was listening anymore. The world now spun around Rex and his blind fury. Meanwhile, the mayor, in a surge of instinct, drew a weapon and aimed at the other men closing in. The sound of gunshots rang out, but the most striking noise was Rex's ferocious bark, echoing like thunder amid the chaos. With each passing second, more figures appeared, rushing in, and the battle became more immersive, more desperate. But in the background, in the darkness, a third figure moved, silent and lethal. He was different from the others. He was there for a greater purpose, and Rex knew that. "We're done negotiating," the man said, his voice thick with an authority that brooked no doubt. He knew what he was doing. He knew everything happening now was beyond control. And more importantly, he knew no one was walking away unscathed. Not this time. The mayor spun around quickly, trying to grasp what was unfolding. But before he could do anything, Rex was already on him, barking fiercely in a final defense against the inevitable. "Rex! Rex!" the mayor screamed, trying to control the dog, but it was too late. Rex was fully engaged in the fight now, his animal strength overflowing, and the men trying to take something he loved had no idea what they were up against. Chaos consumed the courtroom. The courtroom was in complete chaos. The sound of gunfire, screams, and Rex's roars filled the air, creating a hellish symphony. The mayor, breathless and desperate, searched his mind for a way out of the situation. But he knew, it was too late. There was nothing more to be done. Rex, in an explosion of primal fury, slashed the air with his sharp teeth, his uncontrollable energy pulsing through him. Every movement of the beast seemed amplified by the rage that consumed the space, his body slamming into enemies with unimaginable force. One of the hoods fell, revealing a man's scarred face and hollow eyes. He tried to retreat, but couldn't avoid Rex's relentless attacks. The mayor aimed his weapon at the man, but before he could fire, the ground trembled violently. What seemed like a simple tremor quickly escalated into a cataclysm. An explosion of unimaginable force shook the building, sending shards of concrete and glass flying in every direction. The courtroom walls collapsed as if they were being crushed by some supernatural force. "Rex!" the mayor shouted, trying to call the dog, but his voice was swallowed by the avalanche of destruction. Then, the sound of the explosion was followed by a hellish echo. A second shockwave, far stronger than the first, made the very foundation of the building quake. The ceiling began to cave in, stones and twisted metal raining down on bodies, intensifying the chaos. Rex, in his fury, didn't retreat, but now the destruction wasn't just around him. It was inside him. The third man, silent and lethal, advanced through the shadows as the walls crumbled around him. He remained calm, as if he knew exactly what was happening and what would come next. As he neared the mayor, he paused for a moment, looking at the devastation. The room, now a field of rubble, was filled with fallen figures, many unrecognizable. "You don't understand, Mayor." The man's voice was cold and distant, as if he were speaking of something irrelevant. "All of this was inevitable. Rex is just the tip of the iceberg. What's coming? You can't even imagine." Before the mayor could respond, the man raised his hand, and at that exact moment, a series of secondary explosions erupted, likely from bombs planted earlier, causing the entire building to shake violently. Steel beams buckled, and what remained of the courtroom collapsed into a massive cloud of dust, stone, and debris. Amid the chaos, Rex seemed to have understood something. His eyes were sharper, more penetrating than ever. He growled, but there was a deep sadness in his gaze, as if he knew that the greatest enemy wasn't the men or the weapons, but something far greater lying behind it all. The mayor, now trapped beneath the rubble, caught one last glimpse of Rex before darkness overtook him. The dog, with his last instincts, moved toward him and growled, but didn't attack. It was as if the animal was saying goodbye. A final explosion tore through the sky, and everything went black. The silence that followed the destruction was deafening. Nothing remained of the courtroom, nor the men who had invaded it. The bodies were buried under the debris, and what was left was a smoldering crater. Flames began to spread, consuming the remnants of the rubble, making it impossible to discern what had been there. But amidst the devastation, a figure emerged from the shadows. The scarred man, now with a serious expression, looked at the wreckage and smiled, satisfied. He calmly stepped away, as though completing a mission that, to him, had been nothing more than a game. And now, the next step, he murmured to himself, as if waiting for something even more devastating in the future. The story of Rex, the mayor, and the courtroom had come to an end, but what was to come? Not even they could have predicted.